I think that you have control of your life and you have control of your situation. Regardless of any external factor, there's nothing that can stop you from being successful. It doesn't matter what barriers are placed in your way, jump over them. Like I feel like a lot of the time people want to fall into that because it's easy. It's easy to say I cannot be successful because of this, that, and the other, and it's harder to go out and figure out how you can be successful.
What's up, peeps? This is Todd, and welcome back to my show. I have an awesome episode for you because I have a man named Jabbar on today, and he just bought his very first house at the age of 19. He's now house hacking it, renting out the bedrooms, and he's living for free and making a cash flow. So welcome, Jabbar.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on, Todd.
Absolutely. I am so excited you agreed to do this podcast with me because when I saw that post on Instagram where you're telling me your story, I knew other people would benefit for it as well. So let's just jump right in. So could you tell the people what you just bought a house at the age of 19, which is amazing. Congrats, by the way. What did your house cost and what area are you in?
So my house, it costed $246,000 and I'm in Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again. You said 5-bedroom?
5-bedroom, or it's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath. I turned into a 5-bedroom, 4-bath.
Oh, awesome. So you added an extra bedroom to get that rental income.
Yeah, man. In this market, you have to make a deal.
There you go. Awesome. So you said $246,000 was your purchase price. You're in Savannah, Georgia. Now, what sort of down payment did you have to come up with in order to make this deal happen?
So that part, so I use my VA loan, which is usually 0% down, but because I'm in the military, but I had to put 5% down in order to qualify. I had a very hard time of obtaining financing, just because I didn't have a lot of income. I had 6 months of credit history, and yeah, I didn't even have 2 years of W-2s or anything like that.
Wow. So then how did you make it work? I mean, it sounds like there was a lot of hoops to jump through. Like how did you make this happen?
So I knew that I wanted to buy a property by a certain date. So I gave myself till March. I started looking in November and I gave myself till March to try and kind of like find the property. And so I was just really persistent. So the first hoop I had to jump through was getting approved for a mortgage. And I didn't have any credit history. So what I decided to do is I went through the whole thing of calling multiple banks, trying to figure out who would give me a loan, how I could make it happen. And then I decided I was going to have a co-borrower, so a family member. So I tried to pitch to my family if they could help me out. All of them said no, by the way. So I had to present my friends an opportunity. I basically pitched them the deal, showed them the numbers of what the potential profits would be for them. And some of them agreed, but I ended up my credit score finally kind of came out. I don't know a better way of saying this. So I had no credit, and then all of a sudden I had a 750. So then banks were willing to talk to me and stuff. And I called 19 of them, got denied by 13 of them. And I just picked the ones that were willing to work with me to try and get it done. It was just a lot of just calling and figuring out stuff.
That is amazing. So you called 19 banks, 13 said no. So
Yeah.
You have a small number of banks that are willing to work with you. And then eventually, did it work out to have your friend co-sign with you, or you just bought it by yourself?
Yeah, so I was actually able to buy it by myself because the VA guidelines, they have different restrictions that make it actually easier to qualify. So because I'm a service member, I basically, because I have a contract that states I'm going to be employed for this long, it kind of allowed me to buy the property without having 2 years of W-2. The credit score thing, because even though I didn't have much of it, I still had a pretty good score when it finally came out. So that also helped as well with my case. And what else? And then the income problem, I put 5% down. So I didn't get to use my 0% down benefit, but the numbers work still great with 5% down. So it helped me to qualify.
Right. So now with a 5% down payment, you were probably looking at what, $28,000 down, something like that? Or is that?
So my down payment was $12,300.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I think I flipped it on there. My mental math is trash. So your down payment you said was about 12 grand, and then is that just money you saved, or where did that come from?
Yeah. So before real estate, it was stock. So I was like really big into like stock market investing. Market crashed in March 2020. I put my entire life savings in there. Just like I had $2 in my checking account. I just dumped everything I had into the stock market, and it worked out. So um, in July of 2020, the military had paid me $15,000. Well, in July of 2020, also my investment portfolio was almost at 30 grand. So I just got really lucky. It's kind of like being greedy when other people are fearful.
Dude, that is amazing. So I also bought when the stock market bottomed out last year, and people were pulling money out of their 401ks, and they were panic selling and losing all this stuff. And I was just like, hey, those who just stay the course and ride the wave, you're going to come out ahead. But that talks about, and this is, I want to be careful with what I choose to say here because I'm not knocking having a job or anything. Obviously, have a job, like do what you got to do to pay the bills and stuff. But it shows the power of investing because you basically made double what your job was paying you in the same amount of time. like if the military had paid you 15,000, but you had grown your investment portfolio to 30 grand, like that's pretty amazing that you could make more in investing than your job was paying you.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and I want to just clear some stuff up. Like I did, so the stock market, I guess paid me about 17K of that, and
Got
then
it.
so the other about 13K was just like me putting money into the market just from I was hustling. So like in training, I was doing essays for people. I was taking duties. We stand duty in the military. I was for 24 hours. I was taking that for people for money. I was doing DoorDash. So I was just like hustling, trying to make as much money as possible, so I could put it into the market when things were down. 'Cause it was down for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, brother, you got the hustle muscle, man. You're doing military, which by the way, thank you for your service. I think a lot of people take for granted the freedoms that we enjoy here in the States, and they just don't even know. It's because of men and women who are doing what you're doing. So thank you for everything you do there. And the fact that in addition to the military, which can be incredibly hard, you're out there door dashing, you're grinding, you're investing every penny, and here you are at 19 years old, bought your first house. I know the people want to hear about the breakdown of the house. So are you living for free? Are you living super cheaply? What is that like?
All right, so I don't, Craig Kurloff. So basically, he wrote the house hacking strategy. And so when I listened to like the Bigger Pockets book, the Bigger Pockets podcast, I learned about his whole story and about he lived on a futon and a curtain. So he rented out like he had like a duplex. He rented out one side one side, and then he lived in the other, and then he rented out the bedrooms in the other, and then lived on a futon. So me, in the military, because I'm single, I live for free already. So I thought I don't want to pay money to live. Like if I'm a live, I'm gonna make money while I'm living. So I purposely looked for deals that cash flowed at least $1,000 a month. So basically, what I do is I sleep on a futon, no curtain. I got too lazy to put it up in the middle of the house, and I rent out the other 5 bedrooms, and it covers my mortgage. I probably bring in phantom cash flow about like 2 grand. And then after that, I put away $800 for like CAPEX, maintenance and vacancies. And then I make $1,200 a month. I'm putting towards like my reserves for my next property.
That is amazing. So you put your down payment was just over 12 grand and you're making 12 grand a year, more than that every year by living in your free house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. And I mean, my initial cash outflow was about $22,000 with holding costs and in furniture. And then obviously the down payment. And yeah, I'm making $14,400 a year in pure cash flow. So it's like a 65% return actually.
65% cash on cash return on your initial investment. Man, that is awesome. So then, okay, so I've been talking about this stuff for a long time about how people just need to go do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I guess it's since you have it in you, like you have the gumption to go out and hustle and to go just get after it. You already know, like nobody needed to teach you this stuff. You sought out education, you learned from it, but you would have been successful whether or not you met, the guys that you met that you heard their story. So what would you tell people that may be listening to this that think they can't succeed because life is unfair, or like the little man can't get ahead, or I'm too young, or I don't make enough money? I mean, you're doing everything right. So what would you say to those people who think that they can't get ahead because of whatever barriers are in their way?
So I think for people, a lot of people have like these limiting beliefs, and I have them too. We all have them in some way, shape, or form. But really, like when it comes to like investing and then being wealthy in real estate, it's literally more about mindset than everything else. I went through several barriers. Like if I told you the story, I literally had to rent out my house from like another state with like limited connectivity and like barely any power. But I had to take control of, I was in the field, and I had to take control of my situation. So like, if you think like you can't make it by, like try just like taking control of your situation and just figure it out. Every single thing in investing in real estate is figure outable, especially in real estate. There's so many people who have done it so many different times before. You literally just have to take action and figure it out. When you try and make a plan, it's probably not gonna work. But the benefits of making a plan is you start to think about all the different things that can go wrong, making you make a better decision. And like when things don't go right, you kind of have like other things you can start to think about, like what's my exit, or what's my different strategy here. So yeah, like take control of your situation. Like no one's coming to bail you out. You just kind of have to take charge of your own life. If you want to be successful, I believe like, especially for young people, with house hacking, you can be financially free in less than 5 years. I truly believe that. I think for everyone, if you want it in the next year, you can have it if you want to. You just literally have to take the action that it takes to have those goals. And you can only get there by doing the necessary steps.
Absolutely. I think I agree with you 100%. I think house hacking is the single greatest financial decision that young people can make today. And I love that you talked about how after 5 years of house hacking, you'll be set, because that's about where I am. I think I'm at 5.5 years in, and I'm 29 and I have enough money to retire. Like legit, I could retire tomorrow and still make, around 6 figures of passive income every single year. It is insane. So you're right, man. I mean, you just got to grind, you just got to go after it. This is so cool. I just love hearing your story, especially like younger people who are killing it, because a lot of people think that I was young when I started, and I was 23 when I bought my first house. So you beat me by 4 years, by the way. So congrats to you. I actually tell people, ask me all the time, like if I have any regrets. I was like, my only regret is I wish I bought a house at 18. Like that's the only thing I would have changed, is I would have started way earlier. But man, it has been so awesome listening to your story. I really appreciate you coming on. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to talk to the good people of YouTube about, or any tips and tricks you learned on the way that you want to share?
Yeah. So basically a lot of the problems I had, and I talked a little bit about it, but when I left, I had to leave like in the middle of trying to rent out my house, like fill the bedroom. I didn't want to pay the mortgage. I didn't buy it so I could pay the mortgage. I bought it so that other people, like I could have tenants. So I had to leave for a field exercise in which I had, I thought I had tenants lined up and everything, but they ended up flaking on me like while I was out there. And that was not the best place at all, or convenient at all, for them to like all back out. Like I had 4 lined up, and all 4 of them, or actually 3 of them just went away. And the one piece of the tip I share with everyone is make sure that you have a deposit to hold agreement. So when you're renting out a space, whether it's a bedroom, a single family home, an apartment, whatever, make sure that you have the people who are renting from you put like a deposit to hold it before you stop advertising it. Because I made that mistake like so many times, and it was just so stressful dealing with it out there. So just make sure you have your deposit to hold agreement. If you don't have your deposit to hold, you don't have a tenant. Like that's like the mindset you have to be on. So that's the tip I'd like to share with everybody, so they don't make the same mistake that I did.
That is a great tip. And yes, you are absolutely right. Hey, you guys, nothing is done until the ink is dry. Get a signed lease and get a deposit, that is what secures the room. Because if someone just says, oh yeah, I want it, but they have no skin in the game, it's in their best interest for you to not advertise the room and they don't have to pay, because then they could just back out the last second and they're not at anything. So yes, you want the deposit, you want the signed lease. Yeah, that was a phenomenal tip. And I guess, okay, I have one last question, and I'm always interested to hear the other perspective, and then we'll be done, because we don't want to make this like a crazy long video. But and I go here sometimes with my channel, and I always regret doing it, but I can't help myself. I just can't help myself. There are politicians who would look at men like you and men like me and say that we can't get ahead, we're oppressed, and that nothing we'll ever do will be successful because of barriers holding us back. And here you are, a 19-year-old man who's just crushing it. So, do you have a message to the folks that are creating this narrative that, hey, because of the way I look, because of the way you look, success is not an option for us? I think it's I actually think it's a very damaging message. I think it's very harmful to tell somebody, hey, the world's going to be really hard for you based on this exterior factor, and therefore you're probably not going to be successful. And I rejected that, and I became a multimillionaire in my 20s. And do you have any thoughts on that? And maybe you disagree with me completely, and that's fine. We'll still be great friends, I'm sure. But what do you think about that?
So this is where I kind of think. I think that you have control of your life and you have control of your situation. Regardless of any external factor, there's nothing that can stop you from being successful. It doesn't matter what barriers are placed in your way, jump over them. Like I feel like a lot of the time people want to fall into that because it's easy. It's easy to say, I cannot be successful because of this, that, and the other. And it's harder to go out and figure out how you can be successful, because regardless of the situation. So if there's some type of, that's a limiting belief in itself. So I think that, I agree with you, it's damaging, but I also think it's complete, it's nothing. It's not going to stop you. I am really confident and positive I'm going to be a multimillionaire in my 20s as well. And there's nothing that's going to stop me from getting there. So it's like your mindset plays a bigger role than you think. The power of the mind is so important. If you think that external factors will limit you, they will. But if you think that nothing can stop you, nothing will ever stop you, because you are powerful and you can do anything that you put your mind to. So that's the message I have for that type of belief.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. That's a phenomenal message. I think you're 100% right there. And yeah, this has been awesome. Well, Jabbar, thank you so much for coming on. I am so happy for you. You are killing it. And I have no doubt that you will be a multimillionaire in your 20s. You're already crushing it with your first deal at age 19. Just keep going, buddy. You're going to reach amazing heights, probably going to surpass me very soon, honestly, with your grit and your hustle and how young you are still. So awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome being a guest here.
Awesome. Well, take it easy, man.